Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, 4 Kenyans die and dozens are injured in fuel price protests triggered by the Middle East war, which also sees Nairobi's transport system gnarled up on Monday. We hear from our correspondent in the Kenyan capital. Also, the race is on to find potential treatments for a rare strain of Ebola that cost over 100 lives in DR Congo. Its neighbours become increasingly nervous, with Rwanda ramping up border checks, the WHO sending in preventative supplies. And more women in Sierra Leone are jumping onto a sure thing by turning to the rickshaw. Men are usually at the wheel, or have a handle on things, should I say, but now more women are feeling the pull. But first, at least 4 people have been killed in crackdowns on Kenya's fuel price protests. There was more unrest on Monday in Nairobi as demonstrators, frustrated by price hikes the government says are unavoidable as it tries to tackle the fallout from Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Hundreds of people have been arrested and some accuse police of heavy-handedness. Bastien Renouy has more.
I'm on Gong Road. It's one of the main streets here in Nairobi. It's the end of the day. People are going back home, and usually at that time it's packed with cars. It's not the case today because of the strike. It has impacted the whole country, and the day has been mostly peaceful, except in some cities like Nakuru, where a person was hit and killed by a police car. Here in Nairobi, the day was mostly peaceful. A few hundred people took to the street to criticize the price hike. As an example, diesel has increased by 40% since February.
As you can see, the situation in our nation is getting tough every day. Hiking of fuel prices without notice, it's too much bigger indifferences. And as you know, everything runs on the fuel, from businesses, from deliveries, from everything.
They will listen. They will surely listen. We can do this strike as long as we can because it's affecting everyone. Me, myself, it is affecting me too because I have a business. I was supposed today to get something from home, but it can't come because the fuel prices are too high. And if it comes, I'm about to pay like double the price I used to pay. So it's not possible.
This man was later arrested by the police. They said that the demonstration was illegal. Speaking to our Kenyan colleagues, the Minister of Energy said that there is nothing the government can do at the moment to improve the situation. It has already reduced the VAT on petrol. So he said that the petrol price will remain the same till next month. And I can tell you that here many people are unhappy with this announcement, including the opposition. 1 year ahead of the presidential election, opposition candidates are trying to unite around this topic.
Now, thousands of people thronged the streets of Hargeisa on Monday as the breakaway Somali region of Somaliland celebrated its first self-declared Independence Day. Now, the territory declared autonomy from Somalia in 1991, and its secession is opposed by the African Union and, of course, Mogadishu. However, in December, Israel became the first nation in the world to recognize Somaliland as an independent country. Now, they see it as a strategic military and trade hub in the region. Now, the nod from Israel has caused some internal tensions. Many from Somaliland are excited, but dozens of people have been arrested for protesting the alliance over Israel's actions in the war in Gaza. Somaliland's leader, though, is still hoping that other countries will back its sovereignty.
Today, the question Somaliland asks the world is no longer whether we deserve recognition, but rather, when will the rest of the world recognize the Republic of Somaliland?
Well, more than 100 people have now died in an outbreak of a rare variant of the Ebola virus in eastern DR Congo. With at least 393 suspected cases, DR Congo's neighbours are growing increasingly nervous. The WHO has declared the situation an international health emergency. Ro Bayou has more.
The Ebola outbreak is putting Rwanda and the wider region on edge. Kigali has placed healthcare workers on high alert and closed its border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. A sudden shutdown that is paralyzing trade and alarming South Kivu, a region heavily dependent on daily food imports from Rwanda. The Africa Center for Disease Control is openly worried about the risk of regional spread. The focus of the virus is in Ituri, a DRC province struggling with insecurity, but above all, a gold mining area bordering Uganda and South Sudan, where population movements are intense. In neighbouring Uganda, authorities are relying on preventative health measures. There is currently no vaccine or treatment for the Bundibugyo strain. Mobile laboratories have been deployed, official and unofficial border crossings are being monitored, and the population is being urged to remain vigilant.
The World Health Organization today brought more than 5 tons of equipment to the field. Infection prevention and control kits, sample transport kits, tents, beds, laboratory equipment. We brought in all the initial items that are essential to launch this response.
Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni announced the postponement of Martyrs' Day, a national pilgrimage that draws thousands of faithful from the DRC each year. The traditional Alro Kingdom also cancelled its coronation anniversary celebrations, while the US Embassy in Kampala suspended visa services starting this Monday.
Raw there for us in Rwanda. Now, Ghana's $3 billion IMF bailout has just wrapped up, and it's hoping that it's now in more financial footing to tempt investors over. The country needed the support to ride out its worst economic downturn in decades, as the cedi suffered after the pandemic, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and high global interest rates. Justice Baidu talks us through.
Ghana and the International Monetary Fund have announced that a final review of the country's $3 billion program that has helped it to emerge out of its worst economic crisis in 30 years has now been agreed to. Over the last 4 years, the country has seen rising cost of living, hyperinflation, and a collapse of its local currency, the cedi.
It was really tough. Even the basic things that we need, like food, water, electricity, it costs a lot to provide all of that, especially if you are looking for quality in those things. It costs a lot. I can't quite say how much, but I just know that the difference from then and now is really vast.
For a student like me, I really felt it because 2022, I was not having any source of money except to depend on my father.
Before this IMF things, we've heard of those things before. This will be better, but it ends up becoming worse. So we are just waiting for whatever will happen.
Under the program, the country has seen improvement in its economic indicators, with inflation now under 4%, stability in the currency, the cedi, and positive ratings by agencies like Moody's. Her concerns, however, remain.
Government ability to be able to manage the resources, minimize corruption and its allied offenses, and also value for money projects. They are the key to maintaining the macroeconomic environment.
Despite an official end to the program, the country would continue to remain under the monitoring of the IMF over the next 3 years.
Justice there for us in Accra. Now, in Cape Town, plans to build 2 massive new data centres have been challenged by a local and a British NGO. A formal objection says the application to build the structures lacks transparency, as Laurent Bernstecker tells us.
In the Guguletu township near Cape Town, residents waddling through flooded streets face daily water and power outages. Many now fear their struggles could be exacerbated by the planned construction of 2 massive data centers just a few kilometers away.
There's been flooding and no one does anything for us, but now they want to take our electricity. This thing will probably end up affecting us negatively regarding power, water and everything.
With the resource-hungry structures likely to divert even more energy and water away from surrounding communities, a local housing organization and a British NGO recently lodged a formal objection with city planners. They say the proposal to build the data centers lacked key information on the project's social and environmental impact.
There is nothing about water, nothing substantive about emissions. It's incredibly limited on electricity. There's nothing about the diesel generators. There's nothing about air pollution. There's nothing about noise. And it provides no plans for the buildings themselves.
Beyond a lack of transparency, the complaint also denounces the absence of consultation with local communities.
Public participation is of paramount importance. You can't develop outside of the people that you are developing for. There must be proper consultation to be able to tell communities this is what is coming.
South Africa's government recently announced plans to boost investments in its digital infrastructure, but residents hope these can benefit rather than come at the expense of disenfranchised communities.
And finally, to Sierra Leone, where more women are jumping onto a rickshaw thing. Now, the business is usually seen with men at the wheel, but more women say that they're now feeling the pull. Clarice Fortuné tells us more.
Alimatu Kamara turned to driving a rickshaw called KK in Sierra Leone after graduating from college, unable to find a job.
Sitting idle is not my goal. I tried several times to look for employment, but I couldn't get any. Because getting a job is not easy, I decided not to remain idle without doing anything. This is why I chose to venture into the KK driving business.
She's not the only one. Women are taking to handlebars and breaking into rickshaw driving, a job long dominated by men. As formal employment remains scarce in the country, a growing number of women are shattering stereotypes and taking their financial futures into their own hands.
When it comes to the new set of skills and a new set of job markets that we are now seeing, women are less represented than men, mostly because of too many factors. Factors around societal expectations, where society see women as people that are inadequate sometimes, or people that are not supposed to do certain type of jobs. They are supposed to be more caring, nurturing, childbearing people.
The Labour Ministry puts women's participation in a formal labour market at less than 30%, with women earning only a fraction of what men earn. The informal sector, which includes rickshaw driving, offers women like Alimatu a way to make a living.
That's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.